You know what? Let's be real. Staying ahead of today's fast-moving world can feel like you're constantly playing catch-up. You know, one day you feel like you're on top of everything, like you've got all the skills you need to crush it in your career or your side hustle. Then the next time, bam, new tools, new technologies, and suddenly you feel like you're falling behind. You know, I've been there. I'm pretty sure we've all have. And honestly, it's exhausting. But here's the thing I've learned, albeit the hard way. There's one skill, one above others, that keeps you in the game. It's not coding, it's not fancy software, and it's definitely not about being the fastest or the first to hop on the latest trend. It's learning how to learn. Being a lifelong learner is your secret weapon. I know it sounds cliche, be a lifelong learner, but hear me out. The ability to learn quickly, effectively, and with intention is the only thing that's going to keep you relevant over the next decade. Because no matter how fast things are changing now, it's only going to get faster. We live in a time where entire industries are being disrupted by technology. You know what? Think about it. About 10 years ago, who could have predicted ride-sharing apps would change the way that we get around? Or that social media influencers would become a legitimate career path? And don't get me even started on AI. You can't predict what skills you're going to need in 5-10 years because the world is changing so fast. But if you know how to learn, like really learn, then you can adapt to whatever comes next. My personal struggle with staying relevant. Let me take you back a few years. I was comfortable. I thought I had my career figured out, had a decent grasp on the tools of the trade, and was doing well for myself. But then, as things usually go, the industry shifted. Suddenly, I found myself scrambling to pick up new skills, you know what, just to keep up. At first, I resisted, and I thought, I've got experience. I don't need to keep learning these new tricks. And I was so wrong. It wasn't long before I realized that the only thing keeping me from becoming obsolete wasn't what I already knew. It was my ability to adapt and learn what I didn't know yet. That's when I started focusing on not picking up new skills, but honing on my ability to learn anything quickly and efficiently. And honestly, that's made all the difference. The skill of learning, what it really means. When I say learning how to learn, I don't just mean sitting down with a textbook or watching a few YouTube tutorials. It's deeper than that. It's about building a system for yourself that makes it easy and quick to pick up new information, apply it quickly, and then move on to the next thing. So here's what it looks like in practice. 1. Curiosity is a superpower. First, you have to be curious. This sounds simple, but in a world where we live that's constantly bombarded with information, it's easy to get overwhelmed and shut down. But the people who stay relevant are the ones who are curious about the world around them. For me, it started with the small things. Asking questions like, how does this software work? Or what's happening in the industry that could impact my work? Over time, this habit of questioning turned into a genuine excitement for learning new things. When you get curious, you start seeing change as a threat and start seeing it as an opportunity. 2, learning in layers. Okay, one thing I've learned is that mastering a new skill isn't about diving in and trying to learn everything at once. It's about learning in layers. Here's how I do it. First, I get the basics down, just enough to get started and feel comfortable. Then, once I'm familiar, I start adding more depth and complexity. Each time I revisit a topic, I learn a little more. I refine my understanding and get better at applying what I've learned. It's kind of leveling up like, in any video game. You start small, but every time you play, you get experience, you unlock new abilities, and then you tackle bigger challenges. 3, consistent practice over time. Consistency is key when you're learning something new. It's easy to dive in head first and burn out after a few days or a few weeks. But here's the truth. Learning isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. Most successful people I know are the ones who've made learning a daily or weekly habit. They chip away little by little over time, and before they know it, they've mastered a whole new skill set. For me, it's about dedicating time to learning each day. Even if it's just about 20 or 30 minutes, that time adds up. And when you're consistent, your brain starts to make connections faster, which makes learning new things easier and more efficient in the long run. Why this matters for the next 10 years. If there's one thing I've learned over the years, it's that staying relevant means being willing to evolve. In the next decade of technology, industries, and even society will continue to change at breakneck pace. But the people who are going to thrive aren't the ones who have the most knowledge right now. They're the ones who know how to acquire new knowledge when they need it. I think back to when I first started hearing about the blockchain, AI, and automation. It was all foreign to me, and honestly, I didn't think I would need to know anything about it. But as those technologies started to become more mainstream, I realized that staying relevant meant getting out of my comfort zone and learning what I could learn about them. I didn't do it because I had to. I did it because I knew it was the only way to keep up. So I started reading the articles, listening to the podcast, and taking more online courses. Was it overwhelming at first? Absolutely. But at time, I started to understand how these technologies were shaping shaping the world around me, and more importantly, how I could leverage them in my work. The bottom line, stay curious and relevant. You know, at the end of the day, the world isn't going to keep changing whether you like it or not. The question is, are you willing to change with it? Staying relevant isn't about knowing everything. It's about staying curious and keeping your mind open to new possibilities. It's about understanding that the only real skill you need to learn is the ability to learn new ones over again and again. So the next time you feel like you're falling behind, just remember this: you don't need to know everything right now. You just need to know how to learn what you need when you need it. And trust me, once you embrace that mindset, you'll be unstoppable.